Yo, what is going on, everybody? It is your boy Anchor MMA, and I'm back with another video. And today, very important video. I thought this was the right time to do this video with a legacy-defining main event coming up. I have my top 15 UFC fighters of all time, my GOAT list. You know, this is the biggest topic anybody could talk about, the biggest debate anybody could talk about in the UFC space, because it's very controversial and everybody's going to disagree with one. So just let me know if my list is decent. I know you're not all going to agree, but I say we get into it. Starting with the first honorable mention, Jose Aldo. Jose's just outside the top 15 for me. Chad Mendes twice, really good wins. Frankie Edgar, really good win. Those are probably his best wins. But he is a two-time champ, and he's fought in 13 title fights, and this is just in the UFC. That's impressive, and I feel like that's earned enough for an honorable mention. I don't think he deserves his top 15. Volk has obviously passed him as the featherweight GOAT. I think he passed him multiple fights ago. But Jose Aldo is my first honorable mention. My second honorable mention, my boy, Charles Oliveira. I mean, he doesn't deserve top 15, but he definitely deserves an honorable mention to me. Subbing Justin Gaethje and Dustin Poirier in back-to-back title fights that's unbelievable. It really is. That's not easy to do. Chandler twice, those are underrated wins. I think people really overlook those because it's Chandler, but Chandler gave him a really tough fight. Chandler gave a lot of people really tough fights. I think those are two really good wins. His losses since 2017 have been really, really good, such as Islam, Ilya, Armin. You can't really argue with those that much. And honestly, looking back, I think you could give that fight against Armin to either one of them. I think that's really a toss-up. Yeah, that was a really good fight, really close fight. So, if you were to say that he got robbed by Armin, that would mean he only lost to Ilya and Islam, the number 1 and 2 pound for pound, which is up there with Volk recently. So, the one thing that I think demotes Charles is he does have a lot of losses, but you look at those losses and you're like, oh, he's probably got some really bad ones from when he was really young. But he doesn't. All the guys that he lost to, you know who they are. They have a pretty good name in MMA. Obviously, somebody like Charles Oliveira shouldn't be losing to them. But the second half of his career, he was a completely different fighter. And that's why I think he deserves an honorable mention. But getting into the top 15, my number 15 is Alexandre Pantoja. I mean, he almost cleared out the entire division. It's hard to put him anywhere higher than 15 to me because I don't know what he would have done against Van. But the Manel Kape win is aging really good. Do I think he beats Manel Kape in a rematch? No. And honestly, I think Van would have beat him either way. But I have him number 15 just because of what he did in the flyweight division. It's really impressive what he's done, but you can't put him anywhere above 15 to me. He's obviously an all-time great, but he's nowhere close to what DJ did. But very impressive fighter. Number 14, I'm going with Petr Yan. He is a two-time champ. That Merab win was unbelievable. He just visibly was hurting Merab to the body, putting up really good volume. He clearly styled on him and beat him. and I'm really excited for that rematch. He was robbed against O'Malley. I think that is pretty, like, commonly known that he was robbed against O'Malley. I think he should have been champ this whole time, but he got DQ'd against Aljo, lost a bunch of confidence there, lost to Aljo, lost to Merab, got robbed by O'Malley. Like, he got his confidence back up, and he's back to the same fighter that he was before. And I think he would be a top 5 fighter right now if he didn't need Aljo, which obviously is unfortunate, but I think he is really going to keep adding on because he has some really great wins, and I think he'll end up as a top 10 fighter of all time. I don't know about top 5, but Petr Yan is my number 14 spot. At number 13, I have the guy he just beat, Merab Dvalishvili. Merab did clear out the entire division, unlike Pantoja where it's a question mark, but he did just lose the rematch to Petr Yan. And I think if he beats Petr Yan, I think he's definitely a lot higher to me. Losing to Yan is not bad at all, though. I'm not going to hold that against him, but he did get styled on. But yeah, just beating O'Malley twice, beating Sandhagen, beating Umar. I think Umar is an incredible win. Those are going to continue to age well. I think those are incredible, and I think if he gets the belt back, and then I think he'll fight Umar after that if he gets the belt back. And if he beats Umar, he's definitely in my top 10. So I think this next fight really decides where he's going to be, but he's at 13 for now for me. At number 12, I'm going to go Daniel Cormier. DC, obviously, he beat everybody but Jones, who, once again, he cheated. Everybody knows that. He's a 2-division champ. I hold 2-division champ really highly. I think that makes a huge difference, whether, like, how high you are on my GOAT list. 2/3 of his fights were for the title in the UFC, so I think that's incredible. And that just means he only fought 5-rounders, only fought the best of the best. He beat Stipe before he lost twice to Stipe while he was washed. Obviously, Stipe was washed too. But, DC was winning those fights too until he got finished. And I don't know. I don't hold those against DC too much at all because he's in heavyweight instead of light heavyweight. And he's losing to the GOAT of heavyweight. So I don't think that's bad at all. And I don't really regard the Jones losses too much because I don't really count those too much at all. So I have Daniel Cormier at my number 12. Number 11, I have the guy that beat him twice, the heavyweight GOAT, Stipe Miocic. He's clearly the GOAT of heavyweight. Beating Ngannou is really impressive. DC twice, really impressive. Those are all-time wins. Every single loss he had in the UFC, he got it back. Obviously, except for the Jones fight, but that does not count at all for me. He came out of retirement because the UFC basically forced him to with a paycheck. But, I mean, Stipe's legacy is undeniable. You can't really say too much about it. Stipe Miocic is the heavyweight GOAT. He deserves to be number 11. I could see the argument for higher even. But my number 10 is going to be Khabib Nurmagomedov. Some might say this is a little low, but I think this is totally fair. He would be a lot higher if he didn't retire when he did. But the fact that he's undefeated at 27-0 and he was so unbelievably dominant, like when he fought, he lost max 2 rounds. I think he only lost 1 round ever. Never bled, none of that. To sub Conor, Justin, and Dustin in a row, that's what legends do. That's unbelievable. That's why I feel he deserves top 10. Even though he didn't reign for that long, he had 4 4 title wins. I think he could have been a double champ. I think he could have solidified his legacy so much and been easily top 3 for me. But he retired too early, so I think 10 is the correct spot for Khabib Nurmagomedov. Number 9, I'm going to go with Max Bless Holloway. All of his losses are really good losses. The Volk ones, Ilya, like, you can't hold those against him too much. The Dustin ones, yeah, those are really good losses. And he did end up beating Justin and Dustin, which are both really good wins. I don't care how old Dustin was. Dustin is still an incredible fighter, even though that was his retirement fight. I still hold that in really high regards. He did beat Aldo twice for the belt. That's really impressive, although obviously an all-time great. He was an honorable mention on this list. Beating Frankie Edgar and Yair Rodriguez is really impressive too. Obviously his masterclass against Calvin Kattar. He's only lost to legends, and he's got really good wins other than that. And I think if he rematched Topuria, I think it would be a really good fight, and I think he stands the best chance against him out of anybody in the lightweight division right now. Yes, even over Arman Tsarukyan, if Arman ever gets a shot. But I think Max Holloway is easily a top 10 fighter for me. Losing to Volk doesn't do that much for your career. Like, that doesn't lower you too much for me. Volk is incredible, and he had some close fights with Volk. Obviously, Topuria, he gave him his toughest challenge to date in recent memory. So, you can't hold that against Max. Max, incredible fighter. He's in my top 10. He's at the number 9 spot. At my number 8, I do have Ilia Topuria. His start to his career has been nothing like I've ever seen, that's for sure. He's had some really scary knockouts. But one thing, he has beat older fighters, and he'll continue to beat older fighters because he's going to fight Justin Gaethje. If he beats Arman or Islam, or honestly Max again, but definitely Arman or Islam, he'll be much higher. He'll probably be in my top 5 if he does that, or at least close to it. But he's undefeated. He just hasn't fought enough for him to be higher up for me. But I really like what Ilya's done in the sport at this moment, but I just can't put him any higher yet. He hasn't obviously he's beat Volk, he's beat Charles, he's beat Max. Those are incredible wins, and the way he's done it has been the ideal way. But I just don't know if he beats Arman Tsarukyan, and I do not think he beats Islam. I'm pretty confident that Islam would beat him. But yeah, Ilia Topuria, I feel like 8 is a very solid spot for him, and I feel like that's very justifiable based on how his career has gone so far. And he just doesn't have enough fights yet. I think the more he fights, the higher he'll get. He could easily end up top 3 for me. And I think he will if he continues this trajectory for sure. At number 7, I do have Alex Pereira. He speed ran the UFC, 2-division champ. He's beat everybody he's lost to, that being Ankalaev and Izzy. If he becomes a 3-division champ, he'll be much higher. Honestly, I think he would easily be in my top 3 if he's the first ever 3-division champ. Depending on who he beats, I guess. If he beats Gone for it, he'll probably be in my top 5. If he beats Aspinall for the 3-division champ, he'll be in my top 3. He might even be my 2. Yuri, Khalil, Ankalaev, and Sean Strickland are all super underrated wins, and I think Yuri twice, by the way. I think those are incredible. Khalil Roundtree showed what he can do against Yuri, and that was a really good fight. Everybody knows how good Yuri is. He's fighting for the vacant light heavyweight belt, and I think he'll win it against Carlos Ulberg to become a 2-time champion. Ankalaev obviously beat him, but he came back and beat him in the most impressive way you can, just immediately stomping on him. And Sean Strickland is incredible. Obviously, he showed what he can do against Anthony Hernandez. That's No argument there. That's a really good win. And he beat Israel Adesanya, who a lot of people hold in high regards. He could have been an honorable mention for me, but I just think Pereira's legacy has been incredible, especially in the time he's done it. He's my number 7. But if he wins the interim belt, I think he's top 5 all time for me. If he wins the undisputed world championship of the heavyweight division, he's probably my number 2 fighter of all time, just because nobody really even tried for that, because it just seemed so unrealistic and so unprecedented. But Alex Pereira really has a chance to do it, and I think he will do it. And I think he will be my top 3, and I think he'll be my number 2. But my number 6 is Anderson Silva. Obviously, you see, I wrote down a lot for this one. I know I got to defend myself for this, but he has the greatest prime ever at this moment. Longest win streak in UFC history. Obviously, it's tied with Islam right now. With the 16-fight win streak. That's incredible. 16 wins in 6 years, with almost all of them being title fights. That speaks for itself. That should be enough to make you like the GOAT. But obviously, we know what happened in his later career. But beating Chael Sonnen twice, Forrest Griffin, Damian Maia, Vitor Belfort, Dan Henderson, and Rich Franklin are all really, really great wins. And I think everybody says he went against like plumbers, he went against bad competition. I don't think it's that bad. When you compare him to somebody like George St. Pierre, I don't think the level of competition was... I think, honestly, Silva might have faced tougher competition. That might be a hot take. But Anderson Silva has a really good wins. Like, Sonnen twice. Obviously, Sonnen almost beat him, and he never became champ. But Sonnen's a really good fighter. Forrest Griffin, he absolutely embarrassed him. Damian Maia, Vitor Belfort, champion. Dan Henderson, everybody knows how good Dan Henderson used to be. Rich Franklin, those are all incredible wins, and I don't think people give Silva enough credit for winning those. Obviously, he did have his late career fall off, and that's the main reason he's number 6. I think he would honestly be my GOAT if he didn't. If he retired before that Chris Weidman fight, he would be my GOAT. But also, he finished most of his opponents, and I think that's a big thing for me. If you go to boring decisions, most of your fights, like, I can't put you as high as people that were just knocking people out, especially going on a 16-fight win streak while doing it. He's the middleweight GOAT. People want to say that Khamzat's going to be the middleweight GOAT. They were saying DDP was a couple fights away from being middleweight GOAT. I don't think you can say that with the amount that Anderson Silva has done for middleweight. But I feel like that's valid enough to make him be my number 6 of all time. My number 5 is George Rush St. Pierre. He is a 2-division champ. That's the main thing he's got over somebody like Silva. In both of his losses, he came back and finished the guy who beat him. His wins aren't that great, but he was so dominant for his time, and he didn't have a fall off. He retired at the right time, and he even came back and won a second belt. But he did have lots of decisions, but he is undeniably the welterweight GOAT. I don't think anybody can argue that. What he did for the sport was incredible. Yes, he had losses in the middle of his prime, which is why he's number 5 for me, but he did avenge those all, and he did them by finishes. George St. Pierre didn't fight great competition, and he went to a lot of decisions, and he had some losses in the middle of his career. I think that's the main reason I have him this low, and also I think he robbed Johnny Hendricks in the middle of his career. So I think 5 is the right spot for George St. Pierre. I've seen people throw around number 1, number 2, number 3. I don't think he's in my top 3 at all, but he is a top 5 fighter of all time for me. Number 4, I'm going to go with Demetrius Johnson. Clearly the flyweight GOAT. He had 13 wins in 5 years. 12 of them were title fights as well. I mean, DJ had an incredible prime. He had a Anderson Silva type prime. I think you could argue whose is better, but I think Silva's was better because he faced tougher competition. I don't think his opponents were as bad as people say they were, but the really bad fighters that he did fight for the title, he trick-shotted the shit out of them, and he got them out of there pretty easily and pretty entertainingly. The Horiguchi win is aging really well, as he already came back into the UFC and has been killing it, and has almost earned his shot for a title already, which is unbelievable. I think he arguably beat Cejudo. I still go back and forth on who won that fight, but you could give that to either one of them. I would have liked to see the trilogy there, because he did beat Cejudo earlier in his career. But yeah, DJ, 12 title fights. He had 11 title wins. Majority finishes. Some of his wins are aging really good. He just had such a dominant prime that he was so good that people were bored of seeing his fights because they knew he was going to win. I think that's all-time level. I think he has to be in your top 5. Demetrius Johnson is incredible. He's my number 4 of all time. Number 3, I have John Zesty Boy Jones. He is the light heavyweight GOAT. He's a 2-division champ, but I put an asterisk on that because he never fought the best in heavyweight division at the time. His heavyweight range isn't impressive. Beating Gon and then beating Stipe at 42 years old is not impressive. I don't get the hype of that. He did lose to Reyes. I don't care what you say. And my main point of emphasis is that he is a cheater. He is a cheater. He was accused of taking drugs 4 times. He was just suspended 3 times. He had his title stripped 3 times. And he just didn't fight enough because of it, and he got arrested 5 times. That can't be your GOAT if he can't fight. He didn't have enough fights in his career, even though he fought for as long as he did. He missed out on so many opportunities. He obviously didn't miss out on these, but he ducked Tom. He ducked Ngannou. He cheated against Gustafsson. He cheated against DC. That just seems like all the tough fights he was scared of. He was scared of it. I think he would damn near be my GOAT if he stayed out of trouble. But he can't. That's who John Jones is. Arrested 5 times, title stripped 3 times, suspended 3 times, accused of taking drugs 4 times. You can't be my GOAT with those. You can't. And he missed out on fights because of that. You can't be my GOAT with that. And so he's my number 3, even though his legacy is good enough to be the GOAT. My number 2 is Alexander Volkanovski. He only lost to Islam and Ilya, who currently are pound for pound number 1. He's really good right now, even how old he is. He's aged really well. Max 3 times is incredible. I don't think people realize how crazy that is. Mendez, Aldo, Max, Ortega, Korean Zombie, and then Max, all in a row, are unbelievable title defenses. I don't think, nobody can question that level of dominance all in a row. That's unbelievable. Lopez, twice in a row, obviously will age really good, I bet. They shouldn't have fought right away, but it doesn't take away from how impressive that is for Volk. He gave Islam his toughest fight. I think that was when he was at the peak of his powers. And yeah, he really gave it all he had against Islam. Had you can't hold that against Volk for moving up, being smaller, going against the best fighter in the world, and losing a razor close decision. I wouldn't say razor close, but he's losing a decently close decision. And he is undeniably the featherweight GOAT. His resume is good enough to make him number 2 all time for me. Pretty clearly, I think 1 and 2, that should be your 1 and 2 for like everybody's list. I really won't respect you the same if you don't have that as your 1 and 2. And you'll see who number 1 is in a second. Obviously, I feel like you can guess as of now. But it's incredible what Volk has done. Beating Max 3 times. Ortega's a good win. Korean Zombie's a good win. Aldo's a really good win. Mendez is a really good win. Lopez twice. People don't realize how good this is. And he also beat Yair. Like, the fact that he's been able to do the same stuff throughout his career, still beating Lopez after getting knocked out by Islam and Ilya, that unbelievable. You can't hold that against him. And my number 1, obviously, is Islam Makhachev. He is the overall GOAT of MMA, the greatest fighter in UFC history. I think he's done enough compared to somebody like Ilya, who hasn't done enough. He's the lightweight GOAT. He's got the best wins. He beat peak Charles at the peak of his powers. Beating peak number 1 pound for pound Volk twice. Obviously, he wasn't pound for pound number 1 both times. But beating that level of Volk raises you up so much because he was pound for pound number 1, trying to move up to beat Islam. And then obviously Volk took it on short notice, but he knocked him out cold in the next fight. People don't respect that win as much as they should. That's incredible. Like, who does that, obviously other than Ilya, but who does that to Volk? You can't say enough about how good that win is. The Dustin win obviously proved to be really good after what he did to Max. He knocked down Max, gave Max a really tough fight. And then his most recent fight, Jack Della Maddalena, that'll age really well. Jack Della Maddalena is incredible. Beating a young Armin, beating Hooker, beating Bobby Green, those are all really solid wins, getting your way up to the title. He's the best fighter in the UFC right now, and I think he has been ever since he was the champ. I think he definitely beats Ilia Topuria, and he beats everybody else at welterweight. I think he'll get Ian Gary next, beat him. I think he'll get maybe Kamaru Usman, maybe Morales, maybe somebody like that. And I think he beats all of them. He's been tested so much in his career with all of these championship fights against the best guys he could have fought. And he won. He won pretty convincingly. I don't think any of them are debatable. Even the Volk one. People like to debate it because it's Volk. But Islam clearly won that fight to me. And he tied Anderson Silva for the longest win streak of all time. Once he wins his next fight against Ian Gary and snaps that streak from Silva, I think he has to be your GOAT. Yes, he got fluked in his early UFC career, but he's still got the longest, he'll have the longest win streak of all time. That's unbelievable. Islam is the best fighter in the UFC right now. He's the best fighter in the UFC ever. He's the best lightweight of all time. He's got amazing wins. I hope he doesn't leave the UFC early, kind of like what Khabib did. Obviously, his legacy is more cemented than Khabib's was, but Islam is the greatest fighter we've ever seen. And I think people need to realize that because he can sub anybody. He can knock out anybody. He can do whatever he wants to somebody. Islam Makhachev is my GOAT. Yeah, have a great day.